More an experience than a set of buildable construction blocks, an original science fiction fantasy adventure created to bring life to the lifeless, to wage the battle of good versus evil across a spectrum of consumable media, and most importantly, to save an entire company from bankruptcy. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Bionicle. Thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description below and use code TOYGALAXY for $5 off your order today. You know what's boring? The DMV. Doing your taxes, business meetings, reading very long books about math, cleaning the basement, this list. What's not boring is Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. 140 calories, it's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. Magic Spoon is great for a low-carb lifestyle for those who are crab conscious. I'm sorry, that should be great for a low-carb lifestyle for those who are carb conscious. Actually, it's good for both. Magic Spoon has 0 crabs. Start your new year off right with Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. And don't forget, Magic Spoon ships to Canada and the UK. Click the link below and use my code TOYGALAXY for $5 off your very own variety box, and choose from Magic Spoon's best-selling flavors like cocoa, cookies and cream, and maple waffle. That's magicspoon.com/TOYGALAXY to save $5 off your order today, and thanks again to Magic Spoon. We cannot get into all the Bionicle things in one video. There are so many Bionicle things. We can't even get very deep into the history of Lego and keep this video at a digestible length. So, while I'm aware of the importance of the lore, we'll be talking more about its value to the brand as opposed to the many details therein. Bionicle is a line of cool-ass robot action figures born from LEGO's Technic line of advanced construction sets. It's got fantastic engineering, deep, rich, expansive mythology with stories told in comic books and video games and on interactive websites, and a whole lot of tiny little masks. In the time before time, Makuta and his evil forces are threatening the island of Matanui and its inhabitants, the Matoran. Heroic Toa warriors are sent to oppose him, cybernetic beings trained to uphold peace and justice throughout the universe. Tahu, the courageous Toa of fire. Lua, agile Toa of air. Gali, noble Toa of water. Kopaka, powerful Toa of ice. Onua, wise Toa of earth. And Pohatu, mighty Toa of stone. Aided by masks called Kanohi that grant them even more power and enhanced abilities like speed and strength, they must utilize their incredible abilities, master new powers, and learn to work as a team to fulfill their destinies, and one day reawaken the great spirit of Matanui itself. LEGO, as a company, can trace its history all the way back to a carpentry workshop founded in 1895 in Billund, Denmark. After 30 years in business, it was purchased by Ole Kirk Christensen. Around the Great Depression, the business pivoted to making fun, producing the finest wooden toys available. In 1934, Christensen focused on better branding. The name Lego was born as a contraction of leg godt, a Danish term for playing well, but also happens to mean I put together. After World War II ended, Christensen invested in a plastic injection molding machine to supplement the wooden toys with plastic toys. Little plastic bears, plastic rattles, a tractor, and tiny repositionable building bricks inspired by a sample Christensen obtained from designer Hilary Fisher Page from a company called Kittycraft. In 1954, Christensen's son proposed a system of toys. Toys that worked together to encourage purchasing an entire line as opposed to a piece here and there. Toys that gave the user the ability to create toys and play patterns of their own with the pieces in the system. They decided that the repositionable bricks were the best place to start. Sales took off, and once the problem of engineering a way for the bricks to snap together was solved, all the pieces were in place for LEGO to become a global toy industry giant. LEGO continued to expand the types of products they offered and the ways they engaged different age groups. In 1969, they introduced Duplo for younger kids just starting out, for whom the standard Lego bricks might be dangerously small or challenging to manipulate. In 1977, Lego introduced technical sets, renamed Technic in 1982. These sets were targeted at a slightly older customer searching for more complex builds. Technic featured studless parts with advanced mechanical engineering in mind, lots of gears and axles, pistons, rotors, pins, rods, pneumatic pipes, and even electric motors. Through the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Lego established established themselves as one of the most innovative and successful toy companies around the world. Their reputation for manufacturing the highest quality products and their commitment to imaginative play, untethered to popular licensed brands, was respected throughout the industry. But respect doesn't pay the bills, and by the early 90s, Lego was suffering from outdated ideas. Lego sales were going down and taking profits with it. In 1998, Lego posted its first loss in company history and laid off 1,000 employees. It was time for change, time to develop a new system for encouraging line-wide purchasing and customer investment. The new system would be story-motivated marketing. That started in 1999 with the first licensed Lego properties, Star Wars on the main line of Lego products and Winnie the Pooh at the younger kids' Duplo line. It was a point of no return for Lego that, even today, drives entire sectors of their business. And while licensed brands brought more customers to Lego and more sets were selling, profits weren't recovering. Because the licenses weren't cheap, their popularity waned between theatrical releases, and Lego still needed to overhaul the way they designed sets and their efficiency of their design process. The success of licensed properties did give Lego the confidence that there was a viable business path through story-motivated products. What they needed now was to develop their own story. In 1986, Christian Faber began working as an artist for an advertising agency in Copenhagen called Advance. His first work for Lego was as an artist on the 1989 Lego Pirates, followed by Aquazone a few years later. As fate would have it, the same year Faber started at Advance, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor behind his eye, making surgery an unrealistic option. Instead, he relied on daily medications whose side effects left him feeling sick. His job and social life restricted by the battle between the illness and a potential cure. After a decade of repeating the cycle of medication and sickness, his doctors were able to provide him with an injection every 2 weeks instead of daily pills. For Faber, it was a revelation, a return to near normalcy, an end to the constant conflict taking place inside his body. But the idea of a capsule delivering heroic medication to fight an illness within a system stuck with him over the years. Inspired by the cybernetic look and feel of Lego Technic, Faber began to imagine a line of Lego sets where the build resulted in a figure as opposed to a building or a vehicle. As he said in a 2020 interview with Popular Mechanics, quote, "I thought of this biological thing. The human body is built from small parts into a functional body just like a model. What if you got a box full of spare parts and built a living thing?" Lego was moving quickly, desperately experimenting with different types of products, different ways of reusing parts, delivering simple kits with short shelf life built around story. Faber, in a reaction to the surging market of action figures, put together a concept for a Technic-inspired figure-building system called Cybots. Lego passed on Cybots itself, but parts of the concept were incorporated into 1999's Technic subline Throwbots and 2000's Robo Riders. During that time, Faber worked on Lego's Star Wars products, gaining first-hand insight into what a deep storytelling-centric program would look like. Development continued on a series of buildable, customizable Lego Technic action figures. Once the decision was made to lean into a proprietary story-based program, Boneheads of Voodoo Island had taken shape and was in the test phase. Kids weren't crazy about a line of toys where the focus was on interchangeable heads, or shooting heads, or even collecting heads. While the toys themselves needed refinement, the story needed more refinement, one providing a solution for the other. Faber, along with Lego design manager Martin Reiber Anderson, former BBC executive Bob Thompson, and writer Alastair Swinnerton, started over with the existing pieces to try to build something else. The long-seated concepts about microorganisms being sent to battle the debilitating forces of disease came back to him. This new concept would be a biological chronicle, a Bionicle. I always go left to right. I should have gone right to left. Yeah. Left to right. I always do it wrong.
Time in the morning.
He imagined elite noble warriors enlisted in a battle to save a mysterious island, hiding secrets around every corner in every cave. Corrupt evil warriors threatening the peaceful inhabitants of the island a mask itself worn by a giant sleeping creature.
Светящийся в темноте таза. Вау! Новые герои Bionicle. Спаси остров Матануи. Забери призы. Мобильный телефон. Компьютер. Честер любит читас.
From the same 2020 interview in Popular Mechanics, Faber says that the tropical setting was inspired by the hit Swedish reality TV series Expedition Robinson, which would be launched just a few years later as Survivor in the US. From those initial concepts, a full Bible was developed, headed by writer Alastair Swinnerton. Lego, in cooperation with Advance, planned a massive rollout that would engage potential customers at every contact point, an inescapable saturation campaign with comics, interactive websites, and a promotional tour. Pieces of the story would be found wherever kids chose to engage the franchise, leaving them to seek out all the pieces to uncover the full story of Matanui and the Toa warriors. Bionicle launched in December of 2000 in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand test markets before landing in North America. Positive response led to the US launch in 2001, and an incredible $160 million in sales in the first year. Bionicle was awarded 2001's Most Innovative Toy of the Year by the Toy Association, encouraging LEGO to continue its story, introducing new characters, new play gimmicks, vehicles, playsets, video games, storybooks, and eventually movies. By 2003, Bionicle was responsible for 25% of LEGO's overall revenue and 100% of its profits, helping to revive a once great juggernaut from its decade-long slumber and near collision with bankruptcy. As Bionicle continued to grow and churn sales for LEGO, LEGO continued to refine their processes at all levels, from corporate to manufacturing to license acquisition. Bionicle was named #1 LEGO theme for 2003 and again in 2006. Bionicle drove website traffic, merchandising decisions, and visibility for the entire brand, from collectibles to bedsheets to fast food premiums. The primary product for Bionicle was the building sets, sold in capsule containers that echoed the tablets Faber relied upon during his first decade battling the effects of the brain tumor. But the storytelling nature of Bionicle's marketing was designed for crossover into other media. Games for the Game Boy Advance first appeared in 2001 with Bionicle Quest for the Toa. Bionicle the Game was released for PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox, PC, and Game Boy Advance in 2003, Maze of Shadows in 2005, and Bionicle Heroes in 2007. Bionicle novels were published from 2003 through 2010. Guidebooks, activity books, books for young readers. 27 issues of Bionicle comics were published between 2001 and 2005, followed by Ignition from 2006 to 2008 and Glatorian from 2009 to 2010, 4 direct-to-video films from 2003 to 2009. The story is broken into 4 general chapters, with the first running from 2001 through 2003. It's centered on the introduction of all the concepts of the world, like the Kanohi masks, the basic characters, and, most importantly, the conflict between the heroic Toa warriors, the evil Makuta, and the impact of the residents of the tropical island of Matanui. Matanui, not to be confused with Motunui or Motunui or Motunui. Matanui is a fictional place and, spoiler alert, a character in the Bionicle universe created by Faber and the team at LEGO. Motunui is a real island in the South Pacific Ocean due west of Chile. Motunui is a real settlement in northern Taranaki in the North Island of New Zealand. Motunui is a fictional island featured prominently in the 2016 Disney film Moana. They all derive from Maori language, and for LEGO, the usage of that and other Maori words was a point of contention early in the life of the Bionicle brand. In 2001, shortly after it launched, New Zealand-based Maori took issue with what they perceived as a lack of respect being shown to many words LEGO co-opted as character names, locations, and objects. As Faber explained in an interview on Stonewars.com from August of 2022, quote, "In the beginning of our work on Bionicle, we found this book about the Maori language and shared it with the LEGO script writers. We were all so happy that we found a language with this Islanders feeling that we could use, but it was not the cleverest thing to directly use words from there. I think LEGO managed the process in a good way because they also made an additional agreement with the Maori people afterwards. LEGO set out a code of conduct for the use of traditional knowledge in their toy lines from that time on." End quote. The second chapter of the Bionicle story, set in the city of Metronui, ran from 2004 through 2005 and takes place prior to the events of Chapter 1, likely another lesson learned from Star Wars, the value of going backward instead of forward. It lays out the events that established the residents of the island of Matanui, how many of the secrets that the Toa would discover in Chapter 1 came to be established. You know, it's the stuff that happened before the stuff that happened. The third chapter of the story ran from 2006 to 2008 and introduces a new team and their quest for the Mask of Life, the only thing that can save Matanui. The fourth chapter was intended to be a soft reboot of the series, but sales had reached a point where LEGO was preparing to wind down Bionicle altogether. In November of 2009, LEGO announced that they were not making any new Bionicle sets. In 2010, Bionicle released its final wave. Many popular toy lines only have a few years before they have to find a way to reinvent themselves to engage a new audience of kids who don't know anything about what came before. Despite an intention for Bionicle to have a 10-year life cycle for LEGO, by 2009 it was clear that they needed to try to find a way to start fresh. Sales had begun to decline as many of the kids who made Bionicle successful out of the gate had moved on from toys, or at the very least, moved on from Bionicle. It turns out that for Bionicle, an intimidating 8 years worth of transmedia storytelling was nearly impenetrable for new customers. The lore that built it had become its biggest barrier to entry. LEGO carried forward the character and creature building system created by Bionicle into Bionicle's replacement Hero Factory in 2010, and even though the toys were no longer being produced, longtime Bionicle author Greg Farshtey continued producing new stories online into 2011. But you don't just walk away from a success like Bionicle. Nearly a decade of sales and story. Plans for a reboot began almost immediately after the original line was canceled. Matt Bedecker, a designer on Hero Factory, took over as senior designer for Bionicle's rebirth. Announced in 2014, launched in 2015, the next generation of Bionicle aimed for a similar but simpler story than its predecessor, a smaller transmedia footprint. 6 Toa heroes fighting against Makuta on the island of Akoto. All your favorite elemental powers are back except for air, which is now jungle. This time LEGO played it conservatively. Online animations, some books, some graphic novels. In 2016, a short animated series on Netflix. Longtime fans were happy to have Bionicle back, but bemoaned the simplicity of the lore. Valid criticism, but hard to say if that was the actual reason why the line was discontinued just a year later in 2016. Perhaps instead of starting over, they should have taken another lesson from Star Wars and prequeled even harder over a longer period of time. Bionicle lives on in story-driven brands across LEGO's products over the years. In fact, just after the original Bionicle line ended, Ninjago arrived to take its place as an original creation wholly owned by LEGO. A new world that has accomplished everything Bionicle accomplished and more. Bionicle helped create an entire subset of LEGO construction sets focused on building action figures, which has taken a variety of forms since 2010, whether it was part of Hero Factory or the buildable Star Wars figure series that ran from 2016 to 2019. Hybridizing two already successful sectors of the toy industry, building and action figures, combined with Gundam model kits, Bionicle helped spur an era of buildable action figures in lines like Stick Fuzz and my beautiful sweet Zevos. It helped LEGO reach beyond concerns not only about their integrity with respect to licensing popular brands, but also concerns about the nature of the stories that they were willing to tell through their products. There's no getting around the fact that Bionicle focused on conflict, on war, on the struggle between good and evil, something that was only passively suggested in previous decades. Pirates, knights, space exploration, city planning and management, traditional play themes with narratives that were mostly left up to the kids playing with the toys by design. Bionicle was a shift in the entire LEGO business strategy and proved that not only could story-driven products succeed at LEGO, but that they could build a future on them. We got enough time for the end slate? Yep. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, if you would like early access to the videos ad-free, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy and let us know in the comments down below how deep down the Bionicle rabbit hole you went. I've never been a huge LEGO collector, but I did pick up several of the first wave of Bionicle figures. In fact, I still have my original Gali figure. Action figures have always been dear to my heart, so seeing one squeezed through a LEGO filter was absolutely fascinating to me. I loved the Gali design, but couldn't get around the idea that I just wanted a regular action figure version of that character. Maybe someday. There's still time. We got time.
It's canceled. It's canceled.
Action figures? Or time itself?
Stop being a kidult.
Oh!